Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most strategically vital regions on the entire planet. We're talking about Xinjiang, but maybe not in the way you're used to hearing about it. We're going to look at it as China's secret backdoor, a pivot point that could literally redefine global power. Because trust me, to understand where China is heading, you first have to understand its most critical and most fortified backdoor.
So let me ask you something. When you think about China's biggest strategic weakness, what comes to mind? Is it a naval blockade? Tensions over Taiwan? Well, what if I told you the biggest threat isn't what you expect at all? The answer isn't somewhere on China's heavily armed coast. Nope, it's a single, narrow waterway thousands of miles from Beijing that basically holds the key to the country's entire economic survival. And this one single point of failure, well, it drives everything we're about to talk about. Now, this single point of failure has a name, and it's one that definitely keeps Chinese strategists up at night. It's called the Malacca Dilemma, and it's the country's most dangerous economic choke point. So what is it exactly? Well, the Malacca Dilemma is China's critical, and I mean critical, over-reliance on the Strait of Malacca. This tiny little sea lane is the artery that most of its imported energy flows through. And here's the kicker. It's patrolled by foreign navies, especially the US Navy. In any kind of conflict, that artery could be severed, just like that. And the scale of this problem is just staggering. According to reporting from Ahead of the Herd, over 70% of China's oil and liquefied natural gas has to squeeze through this one single bottleneck. I mean, just imagine 70% of your country's entire power supply depending on one vulnerable hallway. That, right there, is the dilemma.
So how in the world does China solve a massive sea-based problem? Well, it looks inward, way inward, to its vast westernmost province. Xinjiang has become the geographic pivot for China's entire geopolitical strategy.
You know, what's really fascinating here is how history is basically repeating itself. The ancient Silk Road, which opened way back in 13 BC, made Xinjiang the gateway between China and the West. When it closed, that connection was just lost for centuries. But now, with the Belt and Road Initiative, China is building a new Silk Road. And guess what? Once again, all roads lead through Xinjiang.
The first, and you could argue the most critical part of this strategy, is to create a massive alternative to those sea lanes. China is building a colossal, land-based energy aorta, and it's designed specifically to bypass the Malacca Dilemma.
And this is it, the West-East gas pipeline. It is an absolutely monumental feat of engineering. It stretches 4,000 kilometers, from Turkmenistan in Central Asia, cuts right through the heart of Xinjiang, and goes all the way to the industrial hubs on the East Coast, like Shanghai. This thing isn't just a pipe, it's an economic lifeline.
And the impact is just enormous. The gas flowing through this pipeline network cuts China's annual CO2 emissions by a staggering 270 million tons. To put that in perspective for you, that's more than the entire yearly emissions of a country like Spain. It's a key piece of China's move away from coal, and it has huge geopolitical and environmental implications.
And this isn't just some abstract project. It has a direct human impact. It has fundamentally changed how millions of people live, moving them from the old world of burning dirty, sooty coal for heat and cooking to the new world of clean, efficient natural gas. This is what that massive project actually looks like on the ground.
But energy, that's only one piece of the puzzle. Xinjiang is also the launchpad for China's even bigger ambition, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is basically a plan to rewrite the entire economic map of Eurasia.
So Xinjiang acts as the buckle of the Belt and Road, connecting several absolutely critical projects. You've got the Khorgos Gateway, a massive inland dry port on the border with Kazakhstan. You have the Eurasian Land Bridge, a rail network that shoots goods directly from China to Europe. And you have the link to Gwadar Port in Pakistan, which gives China direct access to the Indian Ocean, completely bypassing Malacca.
And this is where the strategic stakes get even higher. A U.S. Department of Defense report points out a major concern, that all this commercial infrastructure could have a dual use. These ports and railways, they could also serve China's military, giving them logistical hubs and access points far, far from their own shores.
It makes sense, right? If you're going to build your entire energy and economic future through one single region, you have to protect it. And that has led to the transformation of Western China into a fortress, designed to secure these multi-trillion-dollar assets.
Now, the security situation here is incredibly complex. The Delhi Policy Group notes that India is actively preparing for a two-front war because they're worried about China and Pakistan working together. At the same time, China's official 2019 defense white paper says its security forces have taken out nearly 1,600 violent terrorist gangs in Xinjiang since 2014, framing their actions as essential to keep the region stable. These competing security views are really at the heart of why the region is so heavily fortified.
And this whole security push is part of a much broader military ambition. According to the Congressional Research Service, the People's Liberation Army is on a very clear timeline to basically complete its modernization by 2035 and to field a world-class military by 2049. Securing Xinjiang is an absolutely core part of that mission.
Okay, now for one of the most fascinating and, frankly, secretive layers of this security strategy: digital camouflage. In China, all digital maps are legally required to use an encryption called GCJ-02, which has the awesome nickname Mars coordinates. What this system does is it intentionally adds a random secret offset of anywhere from 50 to 500 meters to all GPS data. So your real-world GPS location and the dot on the digital map are never the same, and that difference is constantly and unpredictably changing.
So, why on earth would they do this? Well, this map shift means that if an adversary tried to use standard GPS to target, say, a pipeline or a bridge or a railway, their precision-guided weapon would miss. It's a digital shield designed to protect the very physical assets we've been talking about this whole time.
So when you layer everything together, the full picture just snaps into focus. You have the energy pipelines, the economic rail corridors, and the massive military presence. They all overlap in this one critical region. Xinjiang is the one place on the map where China's solution to its greatest fear, its energy security, its economic ambition, and its military power all converge. The back door is truly becoming the main gate.
So we end with this question. For centuries, global power was really defined by who controlled the seas. But as China pivots to build this secure land-based future through Xinjiang, bypassing those traditional sea lanes, how will this monumental shift in strategy reshape the entire geopolitical map of Eurasia for the next 100 years?